Hello and welcome to episode 5, I think this is now, of
Yes.
Unscripted with Mark and Flavio on the sofa.
Hello, welcome.
So today, last week it was me talking about 5 of my images and why I shot them and the process is I thought about when I took them. And today it's Flavio's turn, so Flavio's picked 5 images taken on the street. 4 of them are actually taken with his Leica, although he now shoots with a Sony. So there was a slightly different process he went through there, or thought process, because you can't shoot multiple images very quickly on the Leica. But yeah, let's just dive straight into it, shall we?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the first image is a really interesting one. You know, this is, it looks like it's taken at is it the beach or by the river, but 3 ladies standing there looking at the view, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a picture I took on the pier at Yarmouth,
Okay.
on the Isle of Wight. So the thing that drew my attention straight away from that pier is that, as you can see here on the planks, there are written the names of families and people on those planks, and it's because each of those planks has been donated by somebody and their name is printed on there. So that was the first point of interest for the area, and I started working with this concept, trying to draw this bit of information in the picture, not because people would know what it is exactly, but it adds that little element to the picture. And while I was looking for a picture there, I saw these 3 people that they were just looking nicely spaced, looking out at sea. And one thing that I noticed, apart from being nicely spaced there, that they all had their feet in the same position.
I love the symmetry about it. That's
Exactly,
why,
that straight away drew my eye. The second thing that drew my eye was the fact that there was this kind of shadow that was coming through the picture that adds a very nice and graphic element. So what I did, I positioned myself to record their position, the symmetry, etc. And I thought, rather than just getting the usual shot of 3 backs, I thought to actually add a little bit of interest to the picture, adding some leading lines, something that will draw your eye to the actual element of that is the most important in the composition, which, interesting enough, in the picture is right up top. So we are not using the composition with the rule of thirds, we are just a little bit off the normal rule of thirds. And the real point of interest is right up there, so you wouldn't necessarily go there with your eyes first thing, but the leading lines help you go there. So what I did, I simply just knelt on the ground, looked for the composition, and I just shot it this way. And the decision was to do it this way. First thing, I think I shot 2 images, and then the feet position changed. And that is the typical thing in street photography. It just goes away very, very quickly. So this thought process took place in 3-4 seconds. I just more or less knelt down straight away and just took the picture.
And I think it's, you know, when you're out shooting street photography, you attune your eye to these sort of things. You notice these things.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a big mantra of mine, you know, don't shoot people in the back. It's too easy.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, what you've done here is you've taken it to a different level, and you've seen the graphic composition, which again is another type of street photography, and you've elevated it, you know, with this, and the 3 feet in the same position, it works. I think you're right. If one of them was in a different position,
it wouldn't work the same.
Absolutely.
That it wouldn't. And the idea was also, in this case, that I decided to process it in black and white. And this is because at this point the 3 feet in different colors weren't so symmetrical as they would be in black and white. And also the very graphic element of the picture, that kind of shadow coming across, the contrast that I could add to the white writing on the planks, the lines, and so that led me to decide to convert it in black and white.
It's unusual for you to do that, because
It
normally, you know, I know we had the discussion, I think in the first episode, about why colour, why black and white. And, you know, I love black and white, even though I do process certain images in colour, and you're the absolute opposite. You prefer colour.
And for the record, this shot probably was shot 5 years ago.
Okay.
And since then, possibly I've hardly converted anything in black and white.
Wow.
Just very, very little. Because I really love shooting in color, and I am almost making a point of really trying to work in color because I want to get as good as I can in color, which is a different visual language.
Sure.
So that's why I showed it that way.
So let's look at the next image, second one.
Yeah.
And this is a vertical.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really interesting image. It's a girl, and again, it's the back of her, walking down the street. But there's some real strong sort of graphic elements going on here. Just wanted to just talk us through, Flavio.
We were just talking about the graphic elements and putting into a black and white color palette or monochrome palette because of the reinforcement of the graphic elements. And this is one of the reasons why I chose this one to in this series, because this is a very graphic picture, but it's in color. And I think the color works very, very well here. It's almost monochrome because the colors are blue, grey, and very little else apart from the blob of glare in there that is orange, but there's not much else in color. But I still thought the color was working a little bit better. You could see the blonde hair of the girl and the blue sky. What was very peculiar about this picture is we are talking about choosing the scene, choosing the background, choosing a setting for your picture, and then waiting for the subject. What drew me here was the light. Light was the first thing that drew me to this picture. And I composed it much earlier than anybody I thought was a good subject for the picture came through, because my whole point was to use the graphic elements on the floor, this crisscrossing of lines, using the reflection of the sun into the building, using this double triangle, let's say, of light that comes through the picture to form this hourglass of light. And one thing that was very difficult, and this is with the Leica, so I almost blinded myself because there is no electronic viewfinder. Live view doesn't work very well, so I was using an optical viewfinder. Was to keep the sun in the perfect position, because to get the sun star like that, which is something I wanted, I needed to keep the sun half hidden, half out of the building.
Okay.
I needed to keep the sun smaller in the picture, just a sliver of it, because that would make the sun star much stronger. Otherwise it would be overpowering in the picture. So you can imagine keeping my composition right, waiting for the subject, and try to keep an eye on that sun that was right in the place I wanted it to be. I really almost blinded myself.
I can believe it. It's really interesting, a lot of the things we've spoken about in previous episodes, they're in this picture. There's that thing about sort of, micro, sort of just position yourself and or micro composition.
Yes.
We referred to it as, and you just move a little bit left, a little bit right until you get it where you want.
Exactly.
And then also this photograph, you mentioned, it's got those elements. It's got composition, it's the girl's in the right place, it's got moment.
Absolutely, yes.
And then it's got light.
Yeah.
And you need those three things in every photograph.
Absolutely.
To make a great photograph. If you've got two of them, you can kind of get away with it sometimes, but you really need all three.
Yeah. And one thing that is important for the composition and the timing of this picture is also the fact, yes, there is a bit of a gesture from the girl and the coat that is opening up, and I was waiting for her to get with her head in a darker area of the picture, so her head would be framed by the lighting on the hair, because otherwise the picture would be a bit less strong.
Yeah, I think if she'd walked on another 2 steps, it would have been in the lighter
and that
area.
was a big problem without a subject that we're walking right in the middle of the pavement. Yes, it would work only if they were completely framed by the pavement. If they were half in and half out, it wouldn't work as well. So that's how I got. And this one is shot on a 21mm lens.
Okay. Wow.
So it's pretty wide.
So next image, I love this image, and I know exactly where it is, and it's one of those images that the other reason I like it is because no one else can take this picture now.
No.
Because the painting on the wall, which is behind the guy's head, has been taken away. You can actually kind of just see it.
Kind of, yeah.
Because I think
it's been not painted away. It's been just
like jet washed or something.
No, they I think they erased it, taking away some material off the brick to be able to get rid of it. Yeah,
but they've not totally succeeded. It's almost like there as like a silhouette or something there now, so you can still see it. But talk us through this image.
Yeah, this is an image that I envisioned before taking. I envisioned this kind of image, and I decided I wanted to take this kind of image. So getting somebody with antlers or antennae on, and this is something that took me in total probably 2 hours of staying there in the spot, waiting for the right thing to happen. I came back 3 days in total. Wow. In the same spot, simply because I knew what I wanted and it just wasn't happening. And again, that is a bit of a difficult thing with the Leica, because the Leica has the viewfinder that is offset from the lens. So very, very, very precise composition is very difficult with the Leica, because there is such thing as parallax. So you're composing, but the lens is seeing something slightly different. And as you can see there, with the Antlers, the composition needed to be absolutely spot on. So what I did, I was just waiting for the right person to walk by, and I had, honestly, the keyword here is duck and weave. I was ducking and weaving all the time to micro-compose this image, because I was waiting for the right person to walk in the right place, seeing a face, right height. Yeah. Because the height was the problem. I needed to go up and down according to how. And everyone is different, and everyone was different.
Of course, you don't think about these things until you suddenly sit down and talk about them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, a tall person, you need to get a lot higher.
Absolutely.
Short person, a lot lower, just to get them in there. And you know, you're doing this in
seconds. Yeah, in half a second. You just need to get it absolutely right. Or rather, you just see the person what height they are. You try to gauge it more or less where you need to be, and that single little adjustment is at the last moment. The great thing on this third day, that there was this homeless person with all his stuff right there on the background, which wasn't there the previous days.
Sure.
And I decided to use this as an element which is enriching the picture, but not because he's a homeless guy. It's just adding a second layer of interest to the picture. And I would like to point out the fact that homeless people, which seem to be a favorite among budding street photographers, because they are an easy subject, it is something easy to shoot. In reality, we are slightly wary of shooting homeless people for the sake of it. Homeless people are part of the environment, so I don't object at all about them being in the picture, but them being the element of the picture. I think unless you have a documentary, let's say, purpose to the picture, unless you want to actually elevate the awareness about them or something, there is just such an easy prey.
But I don't think this image is about the homeless person.
Exactly, and that is
about this guy here on the left.
It's absolutely okay to have him in the picture, because he's a secondary interest. He's just part of the environment. When I got this picture, I knew I got it, and I walked away at that point. Probably I waited another 10 minutes to see if anything else was happening, but I knew I had gotten it at that point. And this guy was kind enough to actually walk there. I said almost. And he just leaned a little bit to look at something like this. And again, I just ducked and weaved a little bit to get him right, and it just got the picture.
That's a fabulous shot. So the next shot, I know again where this was taken. This was taken in Varanasi.
Yeah.
At the Arti Festival, I believe, which goes on every night. And probably if you look on Google, there's thousands, probably tens of thousands of images taken at this event every year. But you know, I've held courses in Varanasi, and we continue to hold courses in Varanasi, and it's an area we go to. But I think the trick is you know, once you get over the sort of the spectacle of the event, to actually try and photograph it from a different viewpoint. And I just want to hear your thoughts about how you got this image.
Let's say this is something that is witnessed by thousands of people every week, and everybody's there photographing. They're out with the phone or other photographers, etc. So you might imagine how many different points of view have been already taken of this. When I was there, the first thing that I did before the let's say the event started is just to get myself in the best place I could find, the closest place I could find, which was a little bit on the side. But I got myself there and didn't move. I elbowed away anybody that wanted to move me, which was other photographers as well.
Sure.
And I just stayed there
I often
and kept
shoot
my
my elbow.
Yes, exactly.
If I want to keep my space, I'm sort of like this.
Absolutely, yes. And also the people, because behind me was the table where they were lighting all the torches, all the fires, etc.
Okay.
Where they were just behind me, and I asked for permission to stay there. They just nodded at me and they were happy for me to stay there, so I just stayed there. The second thing was to find a way to get an interesting composition of it, because yes, them waving the fire, etc. Yeah, it was interesting, but something a little bit different. And I started looking at one a little bit, let's say, call it an anchor in the picture, somebody that was less mobile, that I could actually anchor myself onto and start building my picture around. And this guy in let's say which is the subject a little bit more in a second plane of the picture, was fairly still. He wasn't weaving around too much, he wasn't dancing too much, he was fairly still. So I fixed my focus on him, and then I started again shooting with a Leica. You can't shoot fast, you can't shoot a million frames a second, it's just click, click, click. And I started having to get into the rhythm of the movement of this candle holder, and trying to get him framed exactly in that space, which was large enough for him. So I had plenty of pictures where he's just ever so slightly cut off by the candle holder. I have plenty of pictures where I just completely missed him, he moved, etc. But I just kept on working and working at it, and they were just doing other kind of things. They picked it up again. So I really had to work hard at it, but I knew exactly what I wanted, and luckily I did manage to get it right on the spot.
It's perfect. I mean, he's perfectly framed, and
Yeah,
again,
and it's so nice that he's looking this way as well.
Yes, I think that makes it as well. He's
Exactly.
looking.
I have another 2 or 3 where he's looking away. He's perfectly
Sure.
framed, but this one here where he's looking into, looking at the other guy. And we spoke about it, the moment, the interaction, etc.
Sure.
He's looking at his companion there, and I think that makes the picture.
And I think it's one of those things. Again, you know, we sort of bang on in street photography. You know, one of the things that to raise your photographs to a different level using these different techniques, and
Yeah.
this is one of those right up there. You know, shooting through things,
Yes.
using elements within your surroundings as frames to shoot through, to make an interesting picture. And Flavio, I love that picture. It's great.
Yeah, I think that is my favorite picture of Varanasi. Absolutely.
It certainly sums it up, and everyone would know where it was, and it's probably the only picture you see out there with that composition.
Yes. Yeah.
So finally, this is a really interesting picture, but it looks like there's several layers going on here. It looks like there's just 2 little bits in the middle that are nice and bright. Explain to us, I mean, what is it? Where was it? And what was your process?
Actually, we were together when I shot this
Okay.
picture. We were in the Borough Market.
Oh, okay. So this is taken in London.
This is taken in London at the Borough Market, and we were, of course, the Borough Market is a bustling place,
Sure.
and we were looking for compositions there, but it's so busy that it's difficult to get clean compositions. So you start looking at layering, etc.
Sure.
And while walking around, I happened to see this barber shop, and this side of the barber shop is visible from inside the market where the stands are, but also from the road that cuts through the Borough Market. You can enter the same barber shop from the other side. That's where they cut the hair. On this side, you have the waiting room. So it was a very interesting place because it was all wooden window in squares. Inside they had plenty of old film posters and things like this. So it just drew my eye straight away. It was a beautiful light. And then when I started looking around a little bit closer, I noticed that in the background there were the barbers working.
Okay.
So what I decided to do, I decided to start composing the image, trying to use what really drew my interest at the beginning. And this is a fundamental part. When something draws your interest, the second thing that you need to do, apart from noticing it, is to start understanding how to make a picture out of it, how to let the viewer see what drew your interest. And so I started composing for this environment that was so interesting. And the big thing in this picture is the fact that the 2 small squares where the 2 subjects are so bright that leaves you in no doubt about what you are supposed to look at. and the rest is adding with let's say the frames inside frames there, which is multiple frames inside frames, the different layers that with also the selective focus, because the first layer is a little bit out of focus, it starts drawing your eye in. And once I composed my picture, it was a matter of trying to wait for let's say I anchored myself on the guy having his haircut, because the old guy on the left was moving back and forth, and I was waiting for having the hands on the head of the guy that had his hair cut and the other guy coming into the square. And as soon as he started laughing, I knew I had the picture, because when I got the picture and he was laughing, it was just that little bit extra that I could add to the whole picture. And I think that really works, because it almost draws your eye like a spiral into the image.
I totally agree with that. I mean, it's I always think another sign of a great image is one you can't get out of. And quite often you see images with big lumps of highlight, and you look at the thing and then your eye goes out of the image and you kind of lost forever.
Yeah.
And this you can't get out of. You look at this straight away. You look at the centre where the two people are.
Yes.
And then you just go around it and back.
And you
and
do
go
have
around
something to look
back.
at around.
Yeah.
You still have something to study with your eyes,
Exactly.
but then you go back to the bright spot that
Yeah.
still draws your eye.
And you look at all those other bits around it. It's again, it's an image that's very cleverly put together, and it's another technique. One of the things we should be looking for. It's layering there. It looks like there's 3 layers there at least. You're shooting through things. You've got that light moment and action. You've got all those 3 elements in that picture. And again, it wouldn't work properly in black and white. It only works in colour.
I tried the black and white out of curiosity.
too
I
dark
still
or
do try every once in a while, just like when you push V, and that just turns it in black and white, and it's just go back.
So
very often, some pictures do work well
of
in
course,
black and white.
Of course, yeah.
But very often I check these things, and this one really works better in colour. It really does.
Well, brilliant. Well, thank you, Flavio, for sharing those 5 images with us. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Please leave some comments. We love to hear from you guys. And the most important thing is click that thumbs up, because apparently that shows YouTube that you appreciate it, and it gets us more and more up the rankings. We're still growing the channel. We've got loads of great ideas.
So please subscribe.
We've got loads of great ideas to come. If there's anything you want us to talk about, any ideas or subjects, again, just drop us something in the comments, and we'll cover it. But for now, it's goodbye from Mark and
Flavio.
goodbye.
Goodbye.